Hi class, this video is an overview of the non-parametric test module. So in this module we're going to continue our discussion of non-parametric test, but the ones we're going to talk about here are alternatives to some of the previous tests that we've talked about. So we talked about using the independent samples t-test to compare two groups. Now we're going to talk about another test you can also use to compare two groups called the Mann-Whitney-U test that doesn't make as many assumptions about the data as the t-test does. So in this module, we'll talk about non-parametric versions, comparing two groups, the Mann-Whitney-U, comparing related samples. So non-parametric alternative to the dependent samples t-test. We'll talk about a signed test and a Wilcoxon signed ranks test. And then I'll just briefly introduce you to a non-parametric alternative to one-way ANOVA. You can see the readings and everything outlined here. You can look over my notes. Also, found another little handout on non-parametric alternatives. These are found in Appendix E of the Graviter and Walnu textbook. And you can see the links for the Lang text as well, the online text. My notes here kind of give you just a brief introduction to them. I'm kind of treating these as just alternatives to the different parametric tests that we used. And, these would be good solutions for when you don't meet the assumptions of the parametric test. So also showing here how you can run these in SPSS as well. Here's a brief PowerPoint kind of covering the same thing that's in the notes, just in two different forms. If you open this actually in PowerPoint, you'll see some of my notes written in there too about each slide. Here's just an extra book chapter I copied on non-parametric tests. You might find it useful. Here's another website that you might find useful on non-parametric test. This website shows you how to run different non-parametric tests in SPSS. I'll also show you how to do that in my notes and in the practice assignment as well. But you can see the list of all kinds of non-parametric alternatives for one sample test, non-parametric alternatives for two independent samples. We're going to talk about the Mann-Whitney-U test. Non-parametric, I talked about the Kruskal-Wallis test a little bit in the notes in the PowerPoint. I don't have you do one of those in the assignment, though. The assignment focuses on two independent samples with the Mann-Whitney-U and two related samples using the Wilcoxon signed ranks test there. So you can, if that's helpful for you. I have a practice assignment. So the practice assignment, again, is exactly like the data analysis assignment. Here's just the blank version. And then, so you can practice doing the analysis, and then you can see my example as well, my key, my answer key here. Now that's key. Notice I show you how you type the data in, and this should be very similar to how we enter data into SPSS for the independent and dependent samples t-test. You know, what menu options do you click on? How do you bring things over these? By now, I think these ones should look pretty familiar. And then what kind of the output looks like and how we interpret it. As always, there is a data analysis assignment and quiz associated with this module. And I've linked to several different videos as well. You know, how you can do the Mann-Whitney-U by hand, how you Mann-Whitney-U in SPSS, a short lecture video on Mann-Whitney-U, and then the same thing with the Wilcoxon test. and then a short little lecture on Kruskal-Wallis if you're interested in that for the one-way ANOVA. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please post them to the message board or email me. Thank you. Goodbye.